Hi there. So as well as reading a lot of books, I also do a little bit of writing. I have several friends that are much better writers than me, but it is something I've always had an interest in. My style of writing is a bit weird because a lot of my writing is actually built for tabletop RPGs, D&D, things of that nature. So I almost don't write in a traditional manner. I've heard there's definitely two ways of writing. One's described as the architect and one's described as the farmer. I'm definitely more of the architect style, where I will want to plan each section out and then go back and refine it and fill it in with detail. This is also something when I used to write a lot of scripts in university, that you would just be, and then they fight, and then there was a conversation, because you just are trying to build out the blocks of the story rather than working on individual detail. So I'm going to go through a small piece I've been working on for a bit of fun and see, maybe add a bit to it, but I'll eventually just go through this. I'm not even sure I'm really trying to turn this into anything. Mostly I just like to write for the fun of it and to just kind of keep the creative process going, because I've often found that a lot of my best works come from combining different pieces from different stories that I thought were completely separate, until eventually they just all coalesce together into one really decent piece. So the working title for this piece is called The Benevolent Dictator. I'm reading on a laptop here, if I'm not looking at you, my apologies. And I'll just go through some of the bullet points here. I'm not sure where I'm taking this, and I think this is probably why I'm making the video. So it starts off, there's a farm boy, he's powerfully built, working on the land. A group of royal advisors and some soldiers will approach. Functionally, they'll just tell him that he's the long-lost heir to a throne. Yeah, very original, all good. As I say, will be fleshed out in the future, perhaps. I'm working on some kind of reincarnation kind of system based on the real world equivalent would be the Dalai Lama, or perhaps a more fictional approach would be Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender, something of that nature. However, I want to subvert it and actually be that he is not the reincarnation, and that will cause waves down the line. But for now, the reason they're approaching him, random farm boy, is because they do believe he is the next version of their king/emperor. As I say, he's in fact not the heir, but he's the only living son of the general who rescued the true heir, his brother. My plan is, I believe for now, is that the general and the brother, the actual true son, have both died, and our main character, the son, what will be the king, does not actually know that that wasn't his brother, and does not know the history of his father, due to it being secrecy being best kept, when as few people as possible know the actual secret. So he doesn't know that he's not. These people come and tell him, and he goes, okay, I knew my father must have had something in his past, and this must be it. So the advisors convince him to come with them to the capital. On the way, it becomes clear that he will have to fight to reclaim his throne from a usurper. Usually, the usurper is always like, oh, it's a bad person, it's this, it's that. I want to toy with the idea that that person is just, especially in this case, considering that the main character isn't actually technically the true heir, has just as much a right to the throne as this person, and in fact was put there by the people because they wanted him there. We're functionally having a monarchy coming back and overthrowing a diplomacy, which I think is kind of interesting to kind of to start off this story by having our main character depose an elected official. I'm trying to throw up a grey area here and see what it truly means to be a good person and a good ruler. My thought process is that what happens if you put a good person into tough positions, and how much moral flexibility is there, and if there isn't any, what outcomes does that lead to? So, as I say, the advisors, they make it clear that he'll have to overthrow a usurper. The farmer, the boy, the king, is a straightforward person and sees this as an acceptable cost for power. So, okay, I'm the king, I am the true heir, as far as he's aware. So, if I have to fight for it, so be it. One of his soldiers that accompanies them is the new head, the general, the kind of leader of his forces, or as few as they are right now, and he outlines a plan and a strategy. A small group of them, elite soldiers plus I'm going to call him the king from here on out. A small group of elite soldiers plus the king will force their way through stealth and then obviously bloodshed into the capital, with the help of a small group of guards that are currently on the inside that are loyal to the true king, our farm boy. So they get in after a small bloody coup where the elected official and his closest are overthrown and killed. I toyed with the idea of making this like a drawn-out affair, like a siege and all that, but I honestly just wanted to get straight into, get our new king on the throne and just see what happens from there on out. You can tell by the way I'm talking about it as it's as if this is actually something that's happening. I'm almost like throwing situations at this person and trying to see how they would react. I know that's a very odd way of putting it, considering I am creating the person, but that's honestly how it feels a lot of the time. So they get in, they kill the elected officials and his loyal soldiers, and they now take over. So our king gets reports on the state of the kingdom and starts to plan to make the working man's life better. Our king has grown up being a labourer on a farm, come from extreme rural poverty, and he has no will to leave the people that he considers behind. He considers his own people behind. So he's going to start to try and raise the floor, the poverty floor, and kind of start providing basic amenities to everyone. I feel like I haven't explained necessarily the setting because I'm not entirely clear on it either. I like the idea of this being almost like a fallen civilization, so there is tech, and perhaps that's what the magic system would be. On the other hand, I might just not have magic at all. Definitely right now I'm thinking this, it's got like a pseudo medieval or maybe even earlier, which would be kind of interesting, like writing this in some kind of dark age. I like the idea that there's not a whole lot of technology around, and that's a good way to suppress people, but then the elites would have access to armors, swords. So imagine if the average man was stuck in some kind of dark age or a bronze age or something, basic metallurgy, things of that nature, but the elites have full suits of armor, or even perhaps technology going further into like modern day or even sci-fi. I haven't landed on that yet, and I'll see where it goes. I imagine probably what will happen is that power creep will be established, and as the story goes on, more tech will become available. But for now, we're in a pseudo medieval society with kind of flares of maybe like Asian influence. I was reading a lot of kind of biography of Genghis Khan, things of this nature, and I thought the way they described the Mongolian peoples taking over the Qin dynasties and accruing more knowledge and power, learning from them and developing siege weapons, things of this nature. That was an interesting idea, so I'm thinking there will be a progression of technology as the story continues. But for now, we're talking swords, shields, basic armour. So, let's go back. Where was it? So yes, this king has now just taken up his rightful place on the throne, starts getting a layout of the land, and realises that there is a underfed lower class. So one of his first orders will be that he's going to start issuing loaves of bread, 1 loaf of bread per day to everyone. Functionally a very basic form of universal income. He's going to have large bakeries constructed in each area of the city. This comes at great cost and upsets many of the nobles, because why would you do this? There will be... and a lot of this was kind of inspired by, I've heard with the, when in Rome they would put on gladiatorial games, they would hand out bread to the masses, and this would make them very popular, and I kind of feel that this would work in a very similar way. It also means that this character, the king, is not... I think of him as a good person, but I also think of him as a very utilitarian person, and the lower class is the labouring force, and the more they're fed, the stronger they will be, and the stronger his kingdom. If he wants to develop and change a lot, then he's going to need a strong and able force to do so, both militarily and from a labour perspective. So yes, large bakeries are constructed in each areas of the city. There are petitions against this as a kind of charity is not something that's really been known in the kingdom until now. Some of the nobles think this new king is weak due to his kindness and seek to bully and belittle him in court. This goes on for a short time as the king is kind of finding his feet, but within a short period of time the king will, I'm going to say, disembowel or perhaps behead, or why not settle, why have both, one of the louder voices of dissent, one of the more kind of heavily complaining nobles. I'm thinking make this person quite, from the reader's perspective, to be quite annoying, whiny. I'm not trying to build much empathy for this person, to be perfectly honest, because I think it's going to be very hard to make somebody that's complaining about feeding the hungry and the poor a likeable character. So this person will be killed, and that will definitely kind of settle out and confirm to the court that this kindness is not the same as weakness. Yeah. So this person will kind of die in quite a brutal fashion. While the man dying, screaming, begging, the king will coldly address the other dissenters and make harsh threats against them and their families. Yet again, I don't necessarily think of the king being... It's almost like a bad person trying to do good things. For him, the best thing he can do is get these people in line, and the best way he can think to do that is to threaten not just them, but everyone they care about. Yeah, and from there on, the opposition will back down. Now, where I go from here, I'm thinking there needs to be an external force to kind of unify the kingdom and bring them together, but I'm going to work on that from here on out.